you ever been asked a question that you couldn't answer? Maybe it was a difficult question on a math assignment and you had no idea how to answer it. Or maybe your mom asked you where you put your jacket and you couldn't remember. How do you feel when you don't know the answer? Now think back to our most important questions. Who is God? What is God like? And how should we respond towards God? The answer to these questions are more important than anything else. But do you think that a person can find out everything that there is to know about God? Let's look at an example. There was a man named Job who lived a long, long time ago. His story is written in a book in the Old Testament called Job. And it begins by telling us all about his life. Job had a wife and 10 children whom he loved very much. He also owned thousands of animals, which meant he was very rich. But most importantly, the Bible tells us that Job was blameless and upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. Job knew and loved God. However, one day things started to go terribly wrong. First of all, Job's animals were killed, so his riches were lost. Next, all 10 of his children died. Then Job got very sick with painful sores all over his body. Someone might ask, why did all these bad things happen to Job? What had Job done? Did he do something bad to make God angry with him? Was God being unfaithful to Job? I mean, couldn't he keep all these bad things from happening? Well, during this sad time, 3 of Job's friends came to visit Job. They thought they knew the answers about what was happening to Job. They thought they had the answers about who God is and what he's like and why Job was suffering. But Job didn't agree with his friends. They argued back and forth until finally one of Job's friends said this: God thunders wondrously with his voice. He does great things that we cannot comprehend. What that means is God does things that we cannot completely understand. In other words, no one can know everything about who God is and what he's like, because God's not like any of us. He is one of a kind. Well, even after Job's friends said that, Job and his friends continued to argue back and forth. And then finally, the only one who does know God completely and fully answered Job. And do you know who that one was? It was God himself. God answered Job by asking him lots and lots of questions. Questions like, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Can you send forth lightning? Do you give the horse his might? Is it by your understanding that the hawk soars? Have you an arm like God? And can you thunder with a voice like his? On and on and on, God would question Job like this. Eventually, Job got the point. He responded to God by saying this: I have uttered what I did not understand, things too wonderful for me, which I did not know. Job realized and apologized to God because he now realized that God is too great and wonderful to completely and fully comprehend. God is incomprehensible, meaning that God is more than we can fully understand. Like Job, we will never fully know and understand all the answers to who God is and what he's like. No matter how old you are, how many times you read and study the Bible, there will always be more and more exciting things to learn about the greatness of God. Imagine finding a giant treasure chest filled with dazzling jewels and gold. You eagerly begin to remove and admire each and every treasure. But you find that the treasure chest never empties. There's just always more and more wonders to discover inside. The incomprehensible God that we serve is millions of times more dazzling. Every day there are new riches to discover about God in his word. So the question I want to leave us with today is this: if God is incomprehensible, how should we act toward him? What is the right way to respond to a God who is more than we could ever fully understand? Psalm 145 says this: every day I will bless you and praise your name forever and ever. Great is the Lord and greatly to be praised, and his greatness is unsearchable. Every day we should humble ourselves before him and praise him for his greatness.